All right, we got a bit of challenge ahead of us, 40 slides in 10 minutes. All right, so if you're going to ask me to do a TED Talk on chatbots, then you can be pretty sure that the last thing I'm going to be talking about is chatbots. What do you think happened on this date? Can anyone guess? Google was launched. Google was born. Who can pick out the one button here that changed the world forever? I'm feeling lucky. This was the founders of Google. This was their audacious, hairy goal. The statement that they said that one day we're going to get it right on the first go. And until then, we're going to make the most mistakes out of any company that's ever existed on this planet. You see, we're all a big part of an experiment. Actually, we're part of trillions of experiments. And all along, Google has been learning. What do you think, almost 10 years later, to this date, what do you think happened on 23rd of September 2008? Android was born. Almost 10 years after Google was launched. Did anyone ever stop and ask themselves the question, or actually went to Google, what Android actually means? A robot with human appearance. You see, science fiction is becoming science fact. Because in 2015, this movie was launched, Ex Machina. Who's seen this? You see, this is Google as an Android. And the creator of this Android is actually a mix between the two founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And I sometimes make a joke is that in 2050, Google will be physically walking around here and we'll have conversations with it. We'll have lunch with it. While we're enjoying our soup, we'll be having a conversation with an Android and it'll be feeding off of our information, similar to what's happening today. Except this Android will have the collective knowledge of every human being and every computer on this planet. So really what we're doing, we're building our senses into computers. From hearing, or microphone, to sight, the camera, to touch, the touch screen. But the brain is no longer a human brain, but an AI brain. It's an algorithm that makes decisions based on data, similar to how we work. So humanity will change more over the next 20 years than over the past 300 years. But it's really humanity that's changing. It's not us as human beings. We've been the same for thousands of years. It's what we believe in that influences our culture, that influences the way we behave. That's what's changing. So let's have a look at history from the very beginning. For millions of years, we were hunter-gatherers. We used tools. Technology, by definition, if you Google it or go to the dictionary, is a tool. Technology is a tool. We use tools to gather food, to keep safe, to build shelter. For millions of years. For thousands of years, we were farmers. And we used tools to make us stronger, to make us more productive. We used our intelligence to manipulate animals and crops to behave in a certain way. But you see, the future didn't belong here to farmers. It actually belonged to industrialists. And for hundreds of years, we were industrialists, the Industrial Revolution, where we built factories, we made things more productive, the first corporations were born. But the future didn't belong to industrialists. The future belongs to information seekers. We sometimes call these the nerds. And for decades, we started to connect information. We were able to monetize that information, mobilize it. And the first companies were born in this era, the IBMs, the Microsofts, the Apples. But the future didn't belong to them either. The future belonged to an augmented nerd, where we're able to augment our cognitive ability through artificial intelligence, through technology. So right now, we have entered the cognitive era, where us as human beings are going to be augmented cognitively through technology. If I asked you who here is a cognitive cyborg, probably most of you wouldn't put your hand up. None of you put your hand up, but actually, to some extent, we all are, because a cyborg is a mix of human and machine. And we've actually developed a new appendage. And it's this thing here that we carry around with us all the time. It's become our second brain. And it solves problems for us. Imagine you're at a dinner table, someone asks you a question, you didn't know the answer. If you had one of these, you pulled it out, and very quickly, within seconds, you had an answer. It's your second brain, and it's connected, and it solves your problems. The problem that we don't know everything, and the problem that we forget most of the things that we know. So let's go back a little bit. In the early 50s, we built this machine to solve real-world problems. How to play tic-tac-toe. And when humans won, they were quite happy. And 45 years later, in 1997, Watson's Deep Blue beat the world champion at chess. This time, emotions were mixed. Fast forward a decade or so in 2011, and Watson beat some of the best minds at Jeopardy. Jeopardy is a very tough game, and Watson didn't have an internet connection because they thought that was unfair. You see, Watson can read over 1 million books in a minute, and Watson doesn't forget any word. These guys are smiling, but they're smiling for the camera because they're Americans. Probably they're shitting themselves from inside, because what does this mean for humanity when Watson can start to answer questions for us in weird ways? Fast forward a few years, 2015. AlphaGo, programmed by Google, beat the world champion in Go. Now this is the most complex game we know. There's more moves in Go than atoms in the universe. And he wasn't amused. And then just this year, a new program was built by the guy laughing here. It beat the 4 world champions at poker repeatedly. And poker is a game of strategy and bluff. So you see why the professor's smiling here. The poker players are about to take him out back for a real poker lesson. So you see, technology grows exponentially. We don't. We should never try to become technology. Technology is here to augment us. It's a tool to make us smarter, more productive, to help us live our lives. If we have a look at the history of computing, the intelligence of computing, you can see that where you see this little green dot, this was when the iPhone was launched in 2007. You'd see that our iPhones, or a typical computer, had the intelligence of an insect. 10 years later, in 2007, today, your iPhone has the collective intelligence of a mouse. They say that between the years 2022 and 2025, a computer will be as intelligent as a human brain. They call this a singularity. And by 2050, a computer will have the collective intelligence of all brains on this planet, human brains at least. Yeah, so we're digitalizing our world. We are connecting it, all for the purpose of accessing human behavior. And this data is helping us target ads. But something new is forming, and this is the global brain. It's this intelligence that's connected throughout the world. And it's actually manifesting itself in the form of digital assistants, which is how we interact with it. A harmless digital assistant that you have a relationship with, it's going to help you solve your problems. And it starts with a conversation. It's happening today. We're conversing with this thing. And it looks like this for most of you. Harmless. You're in control, right? Or are you? And it also looks like this, or this, or this, or this. And it's going to help us order our coffee at our favorite restaurant. It's going to help us order our favorite food on the go. It's going to help us book our favorite hotels in an instant. It's going to help us book, check into, and board our favorite airlines. It's going to help us bring functionality in when we're chatting with friends and need to catch an Uber to go to the cinema. It's going to help us have a conversation, just like it used to be, over the counter. Transavia is the first airline that's managed to build a skill for Alexa that allows booking via voice from end to end. We have a wonderful world we're going to meet. But before you stampede out of this room, for all this money and glory that all these digital promises have to offer, remember these things. Technology starts off magical. It's Steve Jobs walking out on stage, announcing to the world all of his magical creations, and we all want one. And then it becomes manic when it's pinging us from every direction because we're hyper-connected and we can't disconnect anymore, taking away from the important things in life. And then it becomes toxic when we're at the dinner table and we're staring at our screens with our family and friends, or we're being automated out of a job, or technology has not delivered on the promise that it once used to promise. Thank you. I think that's it. Yeah, I was ramming on. Yeah, I finished. Actually, you put me off a little bit by coming to the stage. But